Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with another battle to the death for you today. We have the Bestech Goblin versus the Spyderco Lil Native. Two knives that fit into this new hot new category that everybody's doing a lot, and I like them, so I'm glad this is becoming a popular category. But I call them little big knives. I think that's what a lot of people call them. They're small knives, but they're still built to the same quality and toughness of their larger brethren. And it's pretty cool, especially if you live in a place where legalities are an issue, or you just want a small knife as a backup, or maybe you just don't have a situation you need a really big knife. You still want a nice quality knife, but you don't need a big blade. These are great knives for that, both of them. We'll start out by talking about the Goblin. This is the newest one. Came out, I believe, early this year, late last year. Very, very cool knife from Bestech. I admit, when I saw the photos of this, I wanted nothing to do with it. I thought it looked stupid and was not eager to get my hands on it. But one came to me in a pass around, and wow, I really like it, and I'm buying one. They're really, really cool. It is just a titanium frame lock flipper on ball bearings like you'd expect from Bestech. This is the carbon fiber inlay version. There's also a plain titanium version or a version with bronze and blue titanium anodized. S35 VN steel blade, Warren Cliffy design. Very, very cool knife. It's just a mean little bastard. I don't know what else to describe it as. That's all I think of when I look at it. It's a really cool knife. Let's do some stats before we get too much farther. We have an overall length of 5 3/4 inches. They call the blade length 2 inches. I think the way that the authorities would measure it would call it more 2.5. But either or, the cutting length is about 2 inches, so I guess that's more how they're measuring it through their stats. But I would measure it at closer to 2.5 because the authorities are going to pick the longest length they can. But it's so small it doesn't really matter. But anywho, and then you've got a blade thickness of 0.13 inches, so not terribly thick stock. Handle thickness of 0.46, and a weight of just 2.5 ounces. So not bad at all. Pretty light, especially for being all titanium. The carbon fiber inlay one is slightly lighter than the full titanium versions. They're at the same price though. You're looking at about $158 for this. And we'll get to that later, but the quality definitely stands up to the price. Next up, we have the Spyderco Lil Native. This obviously, as the name would imply, is part of the Native family. You're looking at your Native 5, the Shaman, all kind of also in that same sort of general shape, just different sizes. This is pretty trademark Spyderco, Golden, Colorado made. Got your G10 scales, S30V steel. This is the compression lock version. It does come in a back lock now, and also you can get it with a DLC coated blade. You can get it with serrated. And there is a slip joint coming out, which I'm pretty excited about the slip joint version. That's actually going to be pretty cool because the knife this size, one hand open slip joint would be pretty awesome, I do have to say, as a little backup knife or a knife that will just be legal anywhere. I will be very happy to see one of those. Now, let's get into the stats on this little baby. You have an overall length of 5.9 inches, just a hair longer than the Goblin is. You have a blade length of 2.5 inches. You have a blade thickness, again, exactly the same, 0.13 inches. You have a handle thickness of 0.44 and a weight of 2.4 ounces. So pretty similar in weight. You're not going to notice 0.1 of an ounce, let's be honest, guys. All right, let's get into how this is going to go here. So if you guys haven't watched these battles to the death before, I do 7 categories and we will score them. Everybody gets a point, and at the end we will pick a winner. We do aesthetics, quality, blade, ergonomics, carry, deployment, and value. So 7. And I will give a point to each, and we'll pick a winner at the end. Let's get at it. Aesthetically, there's nothing wrong with the way the Little Native looks, but it just kind of looks like another Spyderco, another Golden, Colorado Spyderco. It's definitely very clearly a Spyderco at a glance, which that's not a bad thing. It's an okay looking knife, but the Goblin just looks cool. I mean, it's in the pictures, I admit I didn't like it, but the pictures don't really do it justice, especially with this carbon. And this is kind of a bronzish titanium on here. A lot of places that sell it say it's gray, but it isn't. It definitely has a bronze tinge to it. Nice. Just the satin finish on the blade is beautiful. It's very good at looking aesthetically. And as much as I hate their font, at least they put it up here this time. They put it up there in the stonewash part. So I can't even knock that as much as I usually do for a Bestech. It's a cool looking knife. Definitely a very cool looking knife. Aggressive looking knife for certain, but still pretty cool. Quality, so I have to give the win on that in case you know I didn't say. Aesthetics, I have to give it to the Goblin. Quality wise, this is kind of the same story again. This is a Golden Colorado Spyderco. It's good quality. It's exactly what you expect. Neither of these have any kind of blade centering or lockup issues or anything like that. They're all really well done. But the Goblin's just that bit better. Yes, it is more expensive. You're looking at $113 for this, if I didn't say that before, versus $158 for this. It is more expensive, so you would expect it to be better, but the quality seems even better than that. I could do math. $45 price difference. It's just really well done. Everything is very nice on it. The screws seem a bit better quality than what's on the Spyderco. Just the finish, everything's very smooth and everything's very chamfered and done well. I do have to give the quality to the Bestech, which was kind of a surprise to me. That wouldn't have happened a year ago probably. Bestech has made leaps and bounds in quality, and their stuff is really great right now. And this is a perfect example of that. Now, ergonomically, this one was a surprise to me because Spyderco's usually amazing in ergonomics. The Little Native is still great. It's definitely very comfortable in the hand. If you go back and watch my review of this, I'll try and link to that down below. It is very comfortable in the hand for the size that it is. It's definitely meant to be choked up on. I do wish there was a bit of jimping up here, but it's I guess it's not super needed. But especially when you look at this that does have the jimping on the Goblin, you notice how nice that is. Because these little knives, you're going to be using them choked up like this. That's what they're designed for. And having that bit of jimping there, which this is perfect jimping in that it's just machined just enough to be aggressive, but not enough to really be sharp or bothersome or anything like that. It works really well. If the Native had that, it'd probably win, but it doesn't, because I like the feeling of the handle better on the Native, but I like to have the jimping, so I have to call this a tie. I think that the Native has a more comfortable handle. Not that this is uncomfortable, but that jimping up there, nice little place to set your finger, makes it an even call for me. So we're going to call that one a tie. Now in the blade, this one was a tough call for me because I have to say I do like the shape on the Little Native just a little bit more. I'm getting more into these Wharncliffe-y kind of things. Now this isn't a true like straight edge Wharncliffe. It's almost more of a sheep's foot, I guess you'd call it. Yeah, but these sheep's foot Wharncliffe blades I'm getting into, but I'm still not super sold on. But this is S35VN. Extremely sharp out of the box. Both of these are very thin behind the edge, but you're looking at S30V versus S35VN. I like S35VN a lot better, and I found this blade to actually be very useful. So I still like the blade shape on this just a bit better though, so I just have to call it a tie because I like the shape on this better. I like the steel on this one better. So they're both just, mostly almost full flat. This is a full flat. This is almost a full flat grind. They're both pretty equal in slicing capabilities, but I like having a bit more of a tip and that little bit of belly that you've got on the Spyderco, but I prefer S35VN. So that is another tie. Now in the carry, this is not a tie. Both of these are pretty light. If you're putting it in that fifth pocket, they both work really well in your jeans or whatever. But this is just that it's got a nice wire, almost deep carry pocket clip. This has a nice titanium, the Goblin has a nice titanium milled pocket clip, but a lot more of it sticking out of your pocket. I have to give the win and carry to the Little Native. Mostly just because that pocket clip, that little wire pocket. I love the wire pocket clips. I wish Spyderco did it on more models. I would love it if they switched to like the PM2 and the Para 3 and stuff to these wire clips. They're great. They work awesome, and I don't see the need for the more complicated heavy-duty clips on a lot of their knives. All right, let's go to the next category, deployment. This one may be a bit controversial, but I'm just going to come out and say it. I'm going to give it to the Little Native, and I'll explain why. So this is a nice running flipper, nice ball bearing flipper, works great. It is not completely fall shutty. That's mostly just physics because that blade is so tiny. There's just not enough weight to motivate it down. It's super smooth. There's nothing wrong with that. Lockup's great. It's easy to disengage. It works great. It's a really nice, ball bearing flipper, definitely. But the reason I'm giving the win to the Lil Native is you can do more things with it. Some people have complained that when you close the compression lock, that little tiny bit comes up and can hit your finger. Just don't do that. I mean, it's a tiny little compression lock. All I do is just put my finger up there and it never hits, and it works totally fine. But the reason why I'm giving it the win to this is I like the compression lock. The compression lock is fun and nice to play with, but you've also got a thumb hole deployment. You have a second way to deploy it. You can Spidey flick this thing. It just has more fun ways to open it than the Bestech does. The Bestech is a great little flipper, but this has multiple ways to open it, and all those ways are fun. So win for deployment goes to the Lil Native. Now value. This gets complicated because these are significantly different, really priced knives. You're looking at, like I said, 113. Let me make sure I got that down to the penny. We're going to look up here. Yeah, 114 basically. 114 bucks versus 158. So significant price difference. I do think you're getting your value out of the Goblin. I think the materials and stuff are that much nicer than the Lil Native. Absolutely. But in a small knife like this, do you need that nice of materials? That's a question you have to ask yourself. I didn't think I did until I handled this, and now I feel like I do. But the Lil Native is, I'm going to call it a tie because this is so much less expensive. You're still getting S30V steel, still great steel. I'm not knocking S30V. I prefer S35VN. Not everyone does, but I definitely prefer S35 over S30. So higher quality materials, but you're paying for it. Where everything you got to do, this is going to do just about everything that the Goblin has to do for a lot cheaper, but you are getting what you pay for with the Goblin. So in flash and in materials and fit and finish and stuff. So I'm going to call it a tie for value. So what does that put us at? You heard me say tie a lot, and I'm going to say it again. 2-2 and then 3 ties. So, but I'm not going to call this a tie. I am going to make a judge's decision. If I had to have only one of these, I'd have the Goblin. And I'm surprised to say that because I love the Lil Native. And I'm not selling this or anything. This is my own personal one. This is a loaner, but this is a personal one. I'm going to get a Goblin, but I'm not getting rid of this. It's not like the Goblin's going to replace it. But it's just, I just like it. It's just so cool looking once you get it in person and have it in your hand. I just think it's an awesome little knife. I just think it's a lot of fun. I just think it's a cool knife. So that is my conclusion. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. Have a good one.